Halfland, an ahistorical prehistory. The Battle of Fishpond. In the year 83 of the Common Reckoning, Ancred and his Skeldings marched through the Halfling territories between Great Hall and Overwater, burning, looting, and killing as they went. They were intercepted at Fishpond by a Halfling force under the leadership of Bungo Flabbyface. Fishpond consisted of a couple of farms situated by a pond, from which it took its name. The army gathered by Bungo Flabbyface consisted of approximately 125 slingers and a similar number of archers. There were also 150 or so spear halflings. About half of these had a shield and spear, while the remainder wielded longer spears two-handedly. The only halfling who was armoured was Bungo Flabbyface himself, who wore a gambeson faced with leather and carried a sword and shield. Ancred rode at the head of a force of approximately 300 Skeldings. 50 of these were mounted, mail-clad cavalry with shields and hand weapons. The remainder were lightly armoured infantry on foot. There were approximately 75 archers and 50 men wielding great two-handed axes. Finally, there were 125 men with sword and shield, some 50 of whom also carried a sling. Ancred and the cavalry led the force. Behind them followed the axemen and the infantry without missile weapons, while mixed groups of archers and slingers marched on each flank. They approached Fishpond from the south. On their right stood a small hill, topped with trees, while on their left was a farmhouse, with walled fields running down to the water's edge. On the opposite side of the pond was a small copse, and to the left of this Ancred observed a group of halflings armed with spears and bows. What he did not know was that a mixed group of 100 halfling archers and slingers was concealed behind a hill further to the left, and that another such group lurked behind the buildings of a farm situated on the right of the pond. Up to now, the halflings had consistently fled from Ancred, and he held them in contempt. He ordered the group of archers and slingers on his left to move forward into the fields of the farm, where they took cover behind a wall, facing, but out of range of, the halflings by the copse. He then led his cavalry in a charge, down to and around the left shore of the pond, toward the halflings. He expected that the halflings would run away. The halflings did not run away. Instead, the halfling archers ran forward into the trees, and from the edge of the copse showered arrows into the charging horsemen. This brought the halfling archers within range of the Skelding slingers behind the wall, who hurled sling bullets at them, thinning their numbers. But the halfling archers also had some success. A halfling arrow passed deep into Ancred's leg, and he took no further part in proceedings. Undismayed by this, the Skelding cavalry thundered on, past the halfling archers, directly toward Bungo Flabbyface and his spear halflings. Behind them, the Skelding archers and slingers leapt over the wall and advanced toward the halfling archers in the copse. The halfling archers shot at the advancing Skeldings, and several of them fell. But the Skeldings were undeterred, and now the main body of Skelding infantry was advancing around the lake. Bungo Flabbyface now delivered his masterstroke. His jowls undulated as he bellowed a call to action, and the halfling archers and slingers previously concealed on his right flank now advanced to the top of the hill in front of them. Meanwhile, the halfling archers in the copse continued to exchange missiles with the Skelding archers and slingers moving toward them. The Skeldings were victorious in this exchange, destroying their adversaries, but suffered further losses in doing so. Now the halflings on the hill started to use their slings and bows to send projectiles in the direction of the Skelding cavalry. The horsemen did not wait until the halflings found their range, but spurred on their horses and charged directly into Bungo Flabbyface and the halflings around him. And behind the cavalry advanced the Skelding axe and swordsmen. The halflings on the hill rained missiles upon them, causing casualties among the unshielded axemen in particular. The swordsmen responded to this by forming a shield wall and advancing toward the hill and the halflings upon it. The halflings redoubled their efforts and pelted the advancing swordsmen with arrows and slingstones. The swordsmen cowered behind their shields, but these did not provide complete protection. As their numbers dwindled, the swordsmen pushed onward, even onto the hill, but none of them succeeded in reaching the halfling line. The surviving axemen went to ground, seeking cover in the copse, and even as they did so, the halflings redirected their missiles onto the remaining Skelding slingers and eliminated them. Meanwhile, the Skelding cavalry had crashed into the halfling spearmen. About half of them were repulsed by the wall of halfling spear points and fell back, but the others managed to get past the spear points and close with the halflings. They surrounded Bungo Flabbyface and hacked him to death. But his death did not go unavenged. The halfling spearmen swarmed around the Skelding cavalry who had slain the halfling leader and massacred them, and with that the surviving Skeldings fled the field. And that is how the halflings won the Battle of Fishpond.